to memory. And today, millions of Muslims are committed the Quran to memory. They are called Hafiz, the preservers. Now, if all the Quran today disappear, millions of Muslims will sit down and produce it verbatim, word by word, letter by letter. He said, Lamin, we want to see your proof. I've got the Bible here open as no contradictions. When I quote it, you can check it out. You can say, stop, let me check it out. I want to see, what from that, where you get that from? Bring it and show us. These are the contradictions. This thing, you got two Quran as you come here. You and Bob and all you hate preachers, you come here like I told you last time. Your different Quran, you got two Qurans, bring it. I've got different Bibles here. I says 114 surahs, 6,236 verses. No addition, no deletion. Bring a Quran that's got more than 114 surahs or less, or has got more than 6,236 verses or less. You want to see? So let's carry on with the contradiction. Next contradiction here. Has anyone ascended into heaven apart from Jesus? Did anyone else ascend into heaven apart from Jesus? The Bible says no and yes. If you read the Bible, it is mentioned in the Gospel of John, chapter number 3, verse number 13 says, no one has ascended into heaven except Jesus. But in the second book of Kings, chapter number 2, verse number 11 says, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. So which one is it? According to John, no one else has ascended into heaven apart from Jesus, peace be upon him. But according to the second Kings, Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. Which one is it? Furthermore, if you read the Bible, another contradiction is, what was Jesus' instruction to his disciples? What was Jesus' instruction to his disciples? The contradiction here is between Gospel of Matthew and Gospel of John. In the Gospel of Matthew, chapter number 28, verse number 10, it says, tell my brethren to go to Galilee, and there they will see me. But in the Gospel of John, chapter number 20, verse number 7, he said, go to my brethren and say to them, I'm ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God. Which one is it? Who is right there? Was it Luke? Was it Matthew or John? Next contradiction. How did Simon Peter find out that Jesus was the Christ? How did Simon Peter find out that Jesus was the Christ? Now the contradiction here is between Gospel of Matthew and the Gospel of John. In the Gospel of Matthew, chapter number 17, Gospel of Matthew, chapter number 16, verse number 7, it said, by a revelation from heaven. Simon Peter found out that Jesus was the Christ by a revelation from heaven. But John disagreed. In the Gospel of John, chapter number 1, verse number 41 says, his brother Andrew told him. So which one is it? Did Simon Peter find out that Jesus was Christ, according to Matthew, by revelation from heaven, or according to John, from his brother Andrew? A blatant and incontrovertible, indisputable contradictions. You can find that in the Quran. Next contradiction. Who was the father of Joseph, the husband of Mary? Who was the father of Joseph, the husband of Mary? Here, the contradiction is between Gospel of Matthew and Gospel of Luke. In the Gospel of Matthew, chapter number 1, verse number 16, it says that Jacob was the father of Joseph. According to Matthew, Joseph was the father of Jacob was the father of Joseph. But according to Luke, Gospel of Luke, chapter number 3, verse number 23, says Heli was the father of Joseph. So which one is it? I want to know. These are blatant contradictions in the Bible. And God is not an author of confusion. That's what the Bible said. In the 1 Corinthians, chapter number 14, verse number 23, for God is not an author of confusion. But there's confusion here. Which one is it? We want to know. So many contradictions. I'll carry on now. Next contradiction here is it finished?
25 seconds.
Go.
Okay, first of all, did you notice when I said there are verses missing in the Quran? He didn't tackle me on textual criticism. He ran away from that and he said the Quran has been memorized by Muhammad and passed on by memorization. I have here in Sahih Bukhari, volume 6, 61, 556, Sahih Bukhari, volume 6, 61, 513, Sunan Abu Dawud, volume 3, 1015. All these hadiths show that Muhammad couldn't remember the Quran. Sunni Sahih al-Bukhari, volume 661, 514. Sahih al-Bukhari, volume 661, 509. Sunni al-Tami, volume 103, 103. Sahih Bukhari, volume 660, 468. Sahih Bukhari, volume 660, 467. Sahih Muslim, volume 9, volume number 7, 4, 1799, 1802. Sahih Bukhari, volume 661, 527. All these hadiths show that Muhammad and his companions couldn't memorize and couldn't remember the Quran. So not only had you lost verses, this idea that there's a chain of narration going on and on and on, and they could remember, they got a worse memory than me. Because I can't remember half of the contradictions he came up with. They couldn't remember. So this protection of the Quran is false. There were verses missing right at the beginning. He's not dealt with that. I've talked about contradictions. He's not dealt with those contradictions. I can't remember half of the contradictions you're talking about, but I'll try to deal with some of them. About Mary and Joseph. Matthew and Luke, they deal with, one deals with Joseph's lineage, one deals with Mary's lineage. And if you try to confuse the two, you're going to get confused about what he's talking about, Joseph's lineage. You've got to get the right book for the right lineage of Joseph. And I can't remember half of these contradictions. Can you remember any of them?
You can go later, they can go upload it, you can go there.
I'm a bit tired.
So. No, don't tired, I don't finish with it. And I'm going to, look.
The accession to heaven.
After we finish.
Elijah went on, Elijah never used the word ascension. Elijah went on a chariot of fire. Ascension is the final going to the Father. So ascension is different from what Elijah did, okay? So you're mixing the two. There's no word that Elijah uses in Kings about ascension. So you're twisting the word.
You got to read it now. I quote it. You got it wrong.
Okay.
I quote. I didn't say Elijah said it. Read it. In the second book of Kings. Second book of
time.
It's his time. You know. I will come to that. I'll come to that when I finish.
Can you remember any others? Because I can't remember.
Sorry.
I can't remember any of them because I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't realise you both had your own time.
That's it. Yeah. That's it. So yeah. So
I'm gonna go.
You will upload it. You can come back here and challenge me if you want. Go and start these contradictions. I will finish. And before you go, I got a test for you. You want this? Okay, we'll finish.
Let me go. We're in my time.
He's not even watching. He's not talking. He doesn't know time.
No, it's 2 minutes. Don't worry, I'm watching.
He's got 2 minutes.
Yeah, I know it. I know what he's going to
Okay. Go on
In
then.
the Sana manuscript, we found thousands of manuscripts in Yemen. And you will find in many of these manuscripts that they've been written over. So these ancient manuscripts of the Quran have been written over. When you look at these Qurans, these ancient Qurans that go back to the time of Uthman, when you look at these Qurans that have been written over, they're not the same. The Uthman text is not the same as even ancient texts before that. So how can the Quran be the word of God when you have different ancient Qurans that are not the same? Secondly, in the Sana manuscripts, which are 1,000, we have in the Sana manuscript image 142213B and 44828 of variant readings. In other words, there are thousands of variant readings in these Sana manuscripts. Not one of them is the same. So how can the Quran be the word of God when these ancient manuscripts are all different from each other? I'll finish there.
You see, Bible says prove all things, all these things here. That's the thing. So many contradictions. He hasn't read, he hasn't studied the Quran. We know when they come in, they just attack. Even Thomas Carlyle, who was a Scottish writer, essayist, teacher, and a historian during the Victorian era. After he read the Quran, this is what he said. Thomas Carlyle said, if a book comes from the heart, it will contrive to reach other hearts. All art and autograph are small amount to this. One would say the primary. He's saying that Thomas Carlyle is saying that the Quran is an bona fide book. Non-Muslim scholars are in the Quran with an open heart, are coming with such laudation. Even Napoleon Bonaparte said it. Napoleon Bonaparte is one of the scholars, non-Muslim scholars, who said something majestic about the Quran. He said, I hope the time is not far off when I should be able to unite all the wise and educated men of all the countries and establish a uniform regime based on the principles of the Quran, which alone are true and which alone can lead men to happiness. You have to read the Quran with understanding, but we know your agenda. So let's go through more contradictions in the Bible, more. So next question is why was Jesus at the 6th hour on the day of the crucifixion? Why was Jesus on the 6th hour on the day of the crucifixion? Now, according to the contradiction here is between Mark and John. If you read the Bible in the Gospel of Mark, chapter number 15, verse number 32 to 33, here it says the narrated